Okay, this is a special episode of Bad Brothers Podcast, and you'll find out why in a second. But I need to make an apology on behalf of my brother. Again, you know that last week we had a weird episode. I did some weird jokes at the beginning. They weren't weird, but I put in some sound effects. They were good. I tried to write a monologue, and I tried to write some this week, and using the same formula. They turned out good. And it's kind of hard. It's just kind of a fun thing to do. Kylie Jenner announced that she was pregnant again. I don't think anyone was surprised since obviously she's addicted to injections. Okay. Messed it up a little, but it's funny. But see, that's how you do it. It's just a formula. You write some jokes. And so I tried to do that, and then I called Will. He's in Portland because the audio got messed up. And I thought it was user error. I thought it was me. I thought I made a mistake. I felt guilty. I said my thing about how bad I feel on there, and that was just it. But, however, today is Friday, the time of the recording, and I was over at Will's last night. We did 2 episodes. It went a certain way. Some of it was good. Some of it was not good. The usual. And then I went to pull it up on my phone today and give it a quick 1-2 on the way home. You know, just see if there's some ebbs and flows I can clean up a little bit. And I noticed, dun dun dun, the audio was bad again. And once it was bad again, I realized what happened, because last night, as I sat down to record, I must have stared at the sound input. You can see it's highlighted USB, 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 but you have to be, like we've talked about on the podcast before, you have to be a scientist and you have to figure out what's different. And I realized what is different is Will set up the audio on the podcast the last 2 weeks, and that was a little bit of a problem because he plugged the USB into my laptop before it was open, and Apple has some kind of bug where if it's plugged in before the laptop's on, it will recognize the USB, but it won't recognize the sound. And so I see sound waves, but it's actually picking up the microphone from the laptop, even though it's telling me it's from the USB. It's a mistake, and the audio is bad. And now we spent another night, and now we wasted another night. And Will was tired. He wanted to go to bed. He hadn't slept a regular schedule. And I'm sort of upset because Steve Jobs would have never let that happen. And he's dead now. And now we got Tim Cook, and he is okay with my podcast being ruined. And that's rude. And just in case, here's a little side note. If you want to remember, people now, you think like they're believing all these like conspiracies and everything online. You're just like, oh my gosh, how can they used to be so smart. How could they be so stupid? Just remember, you have an iPhone in your pocket from Steve Jobs, but also he tried to cure his cancer with fruit. So it's possible that you can be smart and dumb at the same time. It's not that much of an oddity. And so now we're going to re-record the episode. And tonight we have a special guest, and her name is Tammy.
Am I supposed to start talking?
There you go. And
I didn't know when your intro was going to be done.
Tammy's on the podcast, and what are we going to talk about? I don't know. Actually, I do know. But anyways, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Tammy Browning. I am Michael's wife.
Okay. That was great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And and so we're recording this in our bedrooms. Now, I have done some podcasts with my pants off, mostly at Will's in the summertime. And when it was hot there and stuff, and I took my pants off, I think maybe just one time. But this is the first podcast I'm recording with my actual underwear off as well. So, in bed, naked, recording a podcast. Tammy's naked too, so...
Oh my gosh. Don't believe a word he says.
And, Tammy...
Wait, can I make one request?
Don't talk about your diarrhea.
Yes, that was my request. Please do not talk about diarrhea anymore on this podcast. Even though I actually thought that was kind of funny. I just don't want to talk about it anymore.
Speaking of... You don't have to talk about it. I'll talk about it for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We could talk about period stuff or whatever. I don't know.
Oh my word. I highly doubt your listeners on the Porter Church's finest podcast are going to want to talk about periods. Although you did talk about your vasectomy for how many episodes? So maybe
12.
they would be interested in female stuff.
I bet they would. Let's see. I thought we could do some things tonight. We can talk about, what do you think my personality is like on this podcast? Like, what do you... I mean, you don't know what I talk about. So I come home I go to Will's. We've been recording on Thursday nights. Go over to Will's. We record 2 episodes. We've been doing it a lot because all the audio has been being ruined. And then I come home, I edit it, and then you listen to it on a regular basis now.
Yes.
Now that I bullied you for not listening to it.
Whatever. I've always listened to it.
That's not true. And and then you listen to it, and then what do you think? Not about the content, but just like, you know me and who I am and who you're married to, but what do you think it's like when you listen to the podcast? How would you describe it?
Describe the podcast in general, or you?
Yeah,
you. Me. Well, I think that your personality on the podcast is a little more amplified than it is probably in real life, a day-to-day life. But it's not your personality. You're just more loud.
Yeah.
You're boisterous. You're, I don't know how to describe it. I do an impression, but I probably
You don't think I'm
embarrassed.
like being fake though?
No, I don't think you're being fake.
Because I am.
Because you are. No, I don't think that you're being fake. I think that you just have energy.
What do you think about Will?
I don't necessarily know if he's more animated or not. I think he just is.
How many of your friends have you told to listen to this podcast?
You mean
that
out of
I
the...
didn't already tell?
Oh, a few. I don't know that. I don't really hang out with a ton of people.
That's why sometimes we just leave off the end where we say, like, share it with a friend, because we know that doesn't happen. Even my wife won't share it with a friend.
Oh, my word. Actually, I did share with my best friend, and she did start listening to it.
Oh, did she listen more?
I think so, yeah. And actually, no, that's not true. Because on Facebook, I did say, hey, take a listen to my husband's podcast with his brother.
Was it when it was bad? When it was really bad?
Honestly, it might have been when it was first starting. I don't know.
Yeah, it was bad back then.
I'm not really that active on social media, so for me to push something.
Okay, here's another thing that you don't know. I forgot to write this down, but um and this will also be news to Will. Well, in a way, news to Will, in a way, not news to Will. So, I got off my pills for mental issues, but one of the things I think, I have sort of depressive thinking, but sort of that can go along with ADD, because ADD can kind of like ruin your life in all these ways, which I haven't been formally diagnosed, but 99.99% sure, because everything just fits. ADD, impacts your life in all these can impact your life in all these negative ways, and blah 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 blah. You have a tidal wave of kind of what you feel are bad things, or actual, ways that your life or relationships have all these hiccups that you can't overcome, and then you're sad about it, and then your just mode of thinking is sad. So
Yeah.
whichever, could be both, could be one, but either way, I've been on these pills. But then I've been having all these medical issues. That was why we had to delete one thing, and my hands feel crazy and everything. So I stopped taking the pills. I haven't been on them for 2 weeks now. So I'm like, if it really is these pills, what can I do to help this ADD sitch? And one of the things I heard and read that can help that people have said, not scientists, but people have said can help their ADD, is a certain legal candy.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
And so I tried that with Will.
You did?
The last 2 recording sessions. So 2 times ago, everything was cool, mostly, and I was fine.
Did you like the way that you felt?
And this, and last night, I'll put it like this: I was being like so forgetful, and it was mostly just being forgetful. Like, I go into a sentence, and by the time I got to the end of the sentence, I'm like, why was I even saying? I mean, I do that a lot anyway, because I just kind of ramble. But instead of helping ADD, it took...
I was going to say, it didn't make it worse.
It took everything that is bad about ADD, which is like you hyper focus onto something, and then it just like, it made you 100 times hyper focus and like clear everything out of the room, and not focus in a good way. It was like, yeah, it was like, it was not like, oh, I'm glad I could focus on, I like to, smoke weed and do my paintings because it just cuts everything else out in the world, and I just focus on my art for a second. It would, yeah.
It didn't work the way that you wanted it to
would
work.
It would be more like, oh, cool, like, yeah. I don't know.
You didn't tell me that you had that last time too.
It was like I ate a bowl of cereal. Like, this is how my sentences would go. The metaphor would be like eating a bowl of cereal and getting to the end and going, why did I pour myself a bowl of milk? That's every sentence. So I'm going to have to go back and that's why I wanted to listen to it so bad. And I could tell Will kept giving me this look like, are you tired, or like, what's going on? Or like,
no,
because
you were high.
Because then we have what we do when we record is we have some Truly drinks or something like that. And or Will has some San Juan something or another's. Will's, I got about like one thing I do, but Will's got multiples. And it's the only time I imbibe, but now it's our little thing that we do, and it was just a lot. I didn't feel bad or weird or anything like that, but it was just like,
I thought you were going to say that you were like paranoid or something.
no, I just hated. I mean, it would just literally be the length of one. I can't remember what I was going to say. See, it would be like that.
I was like, are you acting right now?
It would be like that. Like I drop off. I would get to the word sentence and I would be like, and then I would just look over at Will and go like, I don't know what I was going to say.
So probably not have those when you're trying to have a conversation.
Yeah. So in a way, it benefited me because, yeah, by the end of the first episode and the beginning of the second, it probably wasn't a good podcast. I don't know. That's why I wanted to listen to it. But anyway, so I'm not going to help with ADD. So, that's what I was going to say. Going back, the first week, a week ago when I did it with Will, I had like 3/4 of it, and I didn't feel anything. But that's also part of it too. Is the way they make them. They can't always get them with the right, and equal dosage and everything. Right. But it all mixes weird with your body chemistry depending like what you had or what you ate and so I don't like the idea of that either, just the unpredictability. Yeah. But it's like for me, if it's like these pills have helped so much, and especially with some forgetfulness issues or focusing issues, and not just the feeling happier, but you know.
Yeah,
like
I've noticed the difference.
But like, how many times this week did I forget things now that I've been off the pills for 2 weeks?
Quite often.
And so I'm just like, if I can't go back on these, because I was like having like crazy, like I had these couple nights where my blood pressure was just like insane and kind of scary. And I was having like still a little bit, but I was having these scary feelings in my body. And I'm like, if I can't go back on these.
And you wanted to find an alternative, maybe.
And I was just like, if it's something as easy as this, might as well try it, you know? Yeah. And
it was not helping. I think if I were to try those,
and it wasn't fun either, because I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't. That's why even like stories about people drinking and stuff like never seemed appealing to me. As like, oh, you're forgetting stuff, or like, like the having fun part always sounds fun because it's fun to have fun, but then there's other parts of it, like the parts that I wouldn't like about being out of control or like forgetting things. It was just like, it was embarrassing.
Yeah. I think for me, if I were to ever try that, I'd be the type of person who'd be like paranoid because of my anxiety issues. I think that has always kept me from trying that stuff, because I know people who love it and they do great on it. And then I know people who are super paranoid on it, and I think I would probably be more the paranoid person.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that's why I wasn't scared to like try it or anything. I mean, like I've said on the podcast before, it just wasn't part of my life in high school or whatever. But it's or any other time. But but now there's so many stories of it helping people with so many things, and it's like it's more than just like, oh, we got high and it was like funny and everything like that. It's more, you hear more kind of like cool things about it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I just don't know how I would react on it, so I've just never wanted to try it.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you tried it to see if it would work for you.
It didn't work. Now, since Will's not here, I don't really have a reason for saying that. I'm just reminding everybody that Will's not here.
As if they didn't know, since I'm the one who's talking and not him.
He doesn't talk to me like that, so watch yourself. I thought we could do a little Christian explainer for vaccine hate.
Oh gosh.
And or vaccine like exemption or like religious objectives to the vaccine. What were you talking about? That's what it was like. Yeah. Oh man. I just didn't like it. I was like, words are the only thing I have going for me in life. So if I don't have words, I literally just have nothing.
It's hilarious.
But I don't even know if this is going to be funny or anything, but maybe it's interesting. But I was just thinking about, it's just interesting. Two of the biggest things I think, or I guess one's kind of funny. One's more about masks and one's about the vaccine. And it's like, I'd say one is Mark of the Beast, which, hold on for a second. But everybody's heard of like Mark of the Beast, whether Christian, not, whatever. It's like everybody has like at least a little bit of an idea of what they think, you know, of hearing about it. But also the one that is cracking me up about the masks is people saying they can't wear a mask because it covers their face because they're the image of God.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Oh, you haven't heard that?
No, that's hilarious.
Oh, that's like a big one.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
And so, like at my work, they came out with vaccine mandates a couple weeks before the FDA approved it, so that federal people could, or so they could compel people to get the vaccine now. But my work did it before, but you can still get a religious exemption. And I know there's certain things like I don't know if it's Seventh-day Adventists or something. They don't get like blood transfusions and things like that.
Seventh-day Adventists.
And that is even probably has more biblical support than like not wearing a mask. But people say that they're the image of God. And so if they cover their face, they're covering God up or something. But
that is a stretch. It's so weird to me.
That one I think is interesting because, I mean, that's in the first... Oh, we're talking about the beginning of the Bible and the end of the Bible. So the beginning is where that image of God stuff is. And it's the Adam and Eve story. And he created them in his image, blah, 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 blah. But that image word... That image, it's the same word for an idol, like a statue,
mm-hmm.
And it's the same word that you would like kings would use like to saying like they're the image of the gods, you know, like those kind of like ancient kings when they would say like, hey, you need to follow my rules because I'm the embodiment of God on earth, and that's why I'm so wise. That's why you have to listen to me. That's why I can kill you if I want to and stuff, because I'm the image of God. So that's one of the things that makes the Bible a unique story, because one, it wasn't kings or anything that were the image of God. It wasn't, you could talk about the Bible being edited or whatever, but it wasn't like it wasn't like a king came along later down the line and changed that Adam and Eve story to be like, hey, one guy was the king and he was all of a sudden the image of God. It was just two regular people who were the image of God. And it was a man and a woman that were the image of God. It wasn't just men. It was men and women, and it was them together. You know, they're the stand-in for humanity there. So it's saying everybody has the image of God, and the image or the idol or what they're talking about there is literally being God's representative on earth. In the Adam and Eve story, it's a lot about ruling, but ruling sort of means like organizing and making things better, making a city that's great, and making a community that gets along with one another and functions well, and the crops are growing and the city life is bustling and stuff. It's like you in doing all those things and using your wisdom and using your skills, you're putting your rule over the earth. So you're God's stand-in. You're his image because he's giving you this authority to like be his little, his little hands and feet on, on the planet. And, and so it doesn't have to do with like, our English words, it's like image, but it's sort of messed up our perception of it. So these people who are like, they don't want to wear a mask. It's like, it's one of those things. It's like, well, yeah, of course they don't know what they're talking about. And it's like, of course, masks are uncomfortable and blah, 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 blah. It's I was going to say it's the best line of defense we have, but it was the best line of defense we had for a long time until vaccines came along. But I just like when people are like, we can't cover up our faces, or we can't like cover ourselves up because that's the image of God. But it's like they wear clothes and stuff all the time. So then it's like, is face just the image of God, or should people be going around naked?
I know. I think that's so weird. Whenever I've heard that verse or have read that verse, I have never once thought it was referring to anyone's face. So I find that extremely funny. And like I said, I had never heard that before until you said that.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't pay attention, but
crazy.
It's so funny.
Yeah. And the crazier one is, of course, the mark of the beast. And, I mean, there's not that much to say about it, but every year there's just like stuff that comes up, like that everybody thinks is the mark of the beast. If you're old enough, like when I first started getting into would be okay with being in the room with my dad as he watched the news or something. Mikhail Gorbachev was on. If you're the right age, Mikhail Gorbachev. I think that was him. And he had the big, he was like this Russian guy, and he had a big like birthmark. He was balding, and right in his bald, center of his head, where the seas were parting, was this big red birthmark on his head. And then people were like, oh, that's the mark of the beast because it was on his head. And
how old were you?
I mean, maybe like 10 or...
I was going to say, I don't
11.
remember this, but then again, I didn't go to church when I was younger.
No, that I didn't learn.
No,
at
but
church,
I mean, I didn't know anything about, the mark of the beast or whatever.
But yeah, I mean, even if you never been to church, like you hear about it in movies or you hear people screaming about it or whatever. A funnier one is when the U.S. went to area codes. The area code is 3 digits. Yeah. And so there was people who thought like phone numbers, like everybody's getting a phone number now, and it has like 3 digits at the front and 666. It's sort of like, well, this is 3 it's like such a loose like connection, but it's like, oh, we're getting a 3-digit phone number, so this must be the mark of the beast.
Oh my gosh. So weird.
Phone area codes.
Oh my gosh. People find something in anything.
But the actual thing, and of course Revelation is just like all like, it's all just imagery. It's all like callbacks really. Or there's this one guy I listen to, he calls them hyperlinks. He says it's like reading Revelation is like reading a Wikipedia page that has just like, it's just hyperlinked every word basically. It's just bringing in all this language from all these other places in the Bible or all this other literature and stuff. It's pulling on all these things, and it's hard to understand. It's not supposed to make sense if you read it in English.
Right.
But if you know what it's linking to, it makes more sense. And the whole thing about the Mark of the Beast, it's like it has the dragon, which is sort of like the Satan-ish figure. And then he lets the one beast be the mouthpiece. And it says like he did his job for 42 months. There's like something like very specific in there. It's like there's all this like crazy imagery and stuff. And then it's like, hey, remember this guy? He was only around for 42 months. So it's obviously talking about somebody specific. And then it's like, then he was injured in the head. And then the next guy came along and he got to be the mouthpiece for the first beast. And his number was 666. And it was like you had to have a mark on the head. But that mark... that's the Mikhail Gorbachev one. Yeah. So everybody's like, everybody in the vaccine passports and stuff are like, oh, you have to have the vaccine passport to get into a restaurant or to get into, or to like buy food, and you have to, and to get into a Seahawks game and stuff. So now that's all of a sudden the mark on the beast because you can't do trade without a vaccine passport and stuff like that. But I don't know. It doesn't make sense at all of why that would mean the vaccine passport has to be the name of somebody, and then people say 666 and blah 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 has like Nero something or another. But anyways,
so weird.
If you want your religious if you're Christian and you're listening to this and you're trying to get a religious exemption for it, it's just like, hey, do a word search or two and stay home. It's just crazy. I mean, my world has been like studying a lot of Christian stuff or the Bible, and like that's where a lot of my knowledge is. And there's a lot of stuff to get worked up about in the world. And yeah, I am still a Christian, but it's like, I don't get that upset about, dumb people being dumb in general. Cause it's just like, yeah, we're all people. We all just do dumb stuff. We believe dumb things. We do hurtful things to one another. But it's like, for me, it's just like the head in the sand stuff for Christian, or like the willful ignorance stuff from Christian people. It's like, that's my people. That's my tribe. I hate when people say tribe, but it's like, that's my community and whatever. And it's sort of like the police your own thing. And so it just like that kind of stuff gets me so mad when I hear like Christians trying to do this or Christians trying to do that. And one of the things Will and I cut out, we were talking about like people dying from COVID and stuff. And Tammy, you were just talking to your sister. Tammy's sister works at a hospital in Wenatchee, and I, of course, work for the hospitals here. And it's just like the people who are in it every day, they're just like, they're so fed up. They're sad. They're exhausted with everything that's happening. And then to just hear some stuff like, I don't need to wear a face mask because I'm the image of God, or I'm not, this app on my phone is the mark of the beast. It's like, come on, people.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs would not stand for this. That's the point I was making about Steve Jobs. Is like, Steve Jobs was smart. He tried to cure his cancer with fruit. It's like, I guess people can say stupid stuff too, because they're not as smart as Steve Jobs, and he did something that stupid. Speaking of this, maybe this can tie some themes together tonight, but when you hear me say Martinelli's. What do you think about? I wish I could have talked about this with Will, but I'm gonna.
Martinelli's.
Yeah, Martinelli's.
I think of.
What do you think about?
Sparkling cider.
Oh, that's good.
I think of New Year's Eve or Christmas in my family, or like Thanksgiving, any kind of holiday, really.
Yeah, it comes out
Is
on the
when
holidays
we
mostly.
have sparkling cider. I never really liked it until my parents started buying the stuff that wasn't just apple, because I'm not a big fan of apple flavored anything. And so I never really had it a lot when I was a kid.
This is just another insight into the Christian world, which is Martinelli's is.
I can only imagine what you're going to say.
It's Christian champagne.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
It's Christian wine. It's Christian white wine. It's Christian red wine. It's Christian. It's the Christian celebration drink. It
really is. I mean, that is like so true. Every wedding I went to when I was like in my 20s was all my Christian friends, and they all had sparkling cider at their weddings.
Now, I'm not saying that is the right or wrong way to go, Mom, if you're wondering. But I'm not saying that's the right or wrong way to go. But for a large section of the population, Martinelli's is the non-alcoholic go-to celebration drink. So,
did we have that at our wedding? Because we didn't have alcohol, or maybe we did. No.
Well, we had the bar next door, but
yeah, people could go get drinks, but I don't know.
Maybe we did.
I think we did. Anyway,
I know that's why. It's the Christian go-to. Anyways.
Sorry I interrupted your thought.
No. I forgot. I'm high. But I saw Martinelli's on something else today, and I was like, oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's the go-to. What do you think it doesn't have to be that serious, but what do you think we fight about the most?
Fight about?
What bothers? Oh
my gosh, don't ask me that question.
Yeah.
Michael will randomly come up to me and ask me like,
no.
What about my personality bothers you? Just start laughing.
No, that's just something funny I do. See, what you got to do is you start the question with something very innocuous. Like the other night, okay, so Tammy has to have sun butter. She can't have regular peanut butter because she has migraines, blah, 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 blah. And I was trying to do the thing where you have a banana and you dip it in there, but I was doing it with the sun butter and it was not that good. So I think
it's delicious.
I spent about 5 minutes, going over the properties of sun butter versus peanut butter, blah, 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 blah.
He really did.
The merits and non-merits of it because I do like sun butter with other things. And then you transition smoothly into a question like, yeah, so what do you think? What do you think is worse? Sun butter on a banana or not being loved?
You really did ask me that question, and I was laughing really hard.
And so, yeah, when we get into bed, my number one question to ask Tammy is something like, something serious like that. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, what are the worst?
What's the worst thing about my personality?
Yeah, what do you think it is?
No. This is not to air our grievances out
I want
to
you to
everyone in the bad family.
Okay, don't do a serious one. What's something?
I'm teasing.
What's something that bothers you about me?
Oh my gosh. Are you being serious? You want me to answer that question?
Yes, you're on the podcast. We have to provide
goodness, something that bothers me.
Yeah. I got one.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Okay, I'll say the number one thing lately is not lately, it's forever, but it is Tammy finishing a sentence.
Oh my gosh, I know. I do that a lot. And I actually annoy myself more now that I'm aware of it because I look at you and I'm like, oh gosh, I just did it again.
Because like I said, I mean, if I don't have my words, I don't have anything. So what that sometimes that leads me to a longer pause that where I'm trying to think of the right word or the correct way. And it's not because I've taken some flora and fauna and I can't remember the word. It's that I just want to choose the right word. So I'll say, hey, did you ever... And then Tammy will be like, go to the thing today? No, I didn't. I was like...
I sound exactly like that,
No,
too.
I was like, have animal crackers as a kid. I was like...
Such a good example.
I was trying to think of something like random because, I mean, Tammy's thinking about her life and I'm thinking about my life. And so the things that she comes up with are not even close to what I was going to say.
That is true.
Anyways, you got to laugh it off.
For the most part. It's hilarious. I don't know. Something that...
Come on, I'm not perfect. I'm worse than you.
What was the question again?
Think back. Come on, I'm trying to manufacture some entertainment. Is there something?
I know.
Is there something you? Okay, it's you and me right now. Is there a you and me thing you want to share? You want to share something sweet? You want to share something funny? You want to share something? I was trying to manufacture some a fight.
A fight? No, what I was going to say, I actually was going to answer your question.
Okay.
It just took me a minute to think of something because I have a migraine right now, so I'm trying to push through it. It's actually a painful one.
Yeah, I'm going to cut that out. You're trying to score points. Go ahead.
No, I'm not. It actually hurts really bad.
How are you asking me to talk about this when you know I don't feel good?
I think one thing that I know, oh my gosh, I think one thing that does frustrate me sometimes is when you say you will do the dishes and then they're still there in the morning when you go to work. And then I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave them there all day because then they just start smelling.
I have ADD.
Well, that's what I mean. When you were on the pills, that actually got better.
I know it did.
It totally got better. And then when he said he had to go off of them, which is totally fine because I'd rather you not have issues on a pill.
I couldn't get peanut butter out of the thing with a knife. That's how crazy my hands were.
I know. It was so bad.
I was about to stroke out and then I couldn't use my hands, so.
Yeah. They needed to go
Call in
away.
if you know what my problem is.
Any nurses out there? Doctors listening?
Everything below the waist works great.
Oh my
Above
gosh.
the waist, not great.
It's hilarious. No, but it's the dishes thing. Stuff like that. Just
apologize.
Like forgetting stuff. But we've talked about that.
Well, that is one of the things is like when you feel bad, and I mean, there's sometimes I would just ignore. There's tons of times I would forget. That was probably the majority of the time.
Yeah.
But also when you feel bad, I mean, it's something like it seems small. I know it's not small, especially if it happens all the time. But then it's like, yeah, you just try to take advantage of it sometimes and just be like,
Yeah.
I'll just leave it. How mad can she really get at me if it's just dishes,
Yeah. Well, and I never really got mad, but I never really brought it up either.
Exactly.
Oh, this is me airing my grievances.
Okay, I got one. You don't talk to me about stuff. Yeah. Do you want to share something sweet because this episode is over. You don't have to.
Something sweet?
Okay, she doesn't have anything. Thank you for listening to this podcast.
And now we're going to go to marriage counseling following this podcast episode.
I don't think so. We didn't do anything bad.
Nope.
But we're going to. Anyways, yes, thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you, Tammy, for filling in. Thank you, Will, for being my shaman last night. And I apologize. I apologize for forgetting the ends of my sentences literally so many times. But that was the other thing I was going to say is like I never addressed it when I was with him because I thought it would be funnier to not and say it later or have him just hear it later.
Yeah.
And I think that was the right move.
Yeah.
But he was looking at me like,
what is happening?
Is he tired or
what is wrong with
what
you?
What is wrong? But it's like you always have to do what's funniest. Anyways, thank you for listening to the podcast. Share it with a friend if you like more female voices on the podcast. Maybe Will can... Oh, shoot. No, he can't. Anyways, share it with a friend, just like Tammy does.
All the time.